Support for the show comes from Carolina Forward, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to building a more equitable, democratic, and prosperous North Carolina.
You can learn more about their vision and values at carolinaforward.org.
North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray. Well, hey, man.
I had Chinese food last night.
Little General Tso's?
Big General Tso's. No, no. I had lo mein. I'm just lo mein. That's my go-to. But I was thinking about the connection there. Is first of all, Chinese food's delicious.
Yep.
And the second connection is there's this Chinese proverb that is about this farmer. I'm not going to do the whole proverb, so don't worry, folks. But it's this farmer. He's got a horse, and the horse runs away, and all his neighbors are like, "Oh, that's a bummer, dude." That's literally what they said in ancient Chinese.
Okay.
I don't know what but that's what it translates to is, "Oh, dude, that's a bummer."
Fair enough.
And the farmer's response is maybe. And 2 days later, his horse shows back up and is with another horse. So now this guy's got two horses.
Okay.
And his neighbors are like, "Oh my gosh, dude, you're the luckiest man in town." And he's like, "Maybe." A couple days later, his son is riding that second horse, and the horse bucks him off, and his son breaks his leg.
Okay.
And all the neighbors are like, "Dude, that is some bad luck."
Bummer, man.
Farmer says, "Maybe." A couple days later, the king's soldiers show up and are trying to conscript all the soldiers of the village to go fight a war. The son can't go because his leg is broken.
Okay.
So my point is this. We have been on a roller coaster since, I think a lot of people are going to trace it back to the debate.
Sure.
But it was before that, the Trump indictment. We've just been on this roller coaster.
Oh, you're talking about politically.
Politically.
The society has been on this roller coaster.
The royal we. Maybe you and I personally have been on our own roller coaster. But we've all been on this roller coaster, and I think at certain points we've all felt like, well, this is it. We're doomed. And then there's that moment where something switches and you're back in the game.
Yeah, we're ready to egg roll.
And I think, exactly, we're ready to egg roll. Oh, my God. And I think, I was just thinking that proverb, it's just, you can never tell what is next. And you can never tell. Something that seems like a curse can be a blessing, and something that's a blessing can seem like a curse. And we're living that right now politically.
I would agree. I would think so. And also kind of like the holler, right? We've been doing this for 6 months now.
Dude, 100%.
And it definitely was a roller coaster. It started out as something that we thought was going to be a hobby, just something we would do. And it's turned into something where we're trying to be professionals at.
Yeah.
And we take time out of our schedules to do this. And so, yeah, it's turned out to be something we've interviewed House congressional members, Council of the State members for North Carolina, local officials, teachers of the year, an array of folks, the leader of a pride organization, pastors. It's
The most followed congressman on TikTok. That was wild.
Jeff Jackson.
Jeff Jackson did.
Yeah.
I remember like last fall when we were getting the equipment together, figuring out what's our name, how is this going to work, how do you use recording software, and we were like, maybe if we're really lucky, Jeff Jackson will return an email, and we got him on the damn show.
Well, he needs to share one of our social media posts. But
True, Jeff, if you're listening,
this one's for you.
This one's for you. But dude, you're right. It has been a total roller coaster, and I think we would both agree that we have exceeded all of our expectations,
Absolutely.
all of our goals,
No doubt.
and we have done it because of you, not you, Quinn, but the folks listening, the you hearing me say this.
Right, the collective we.
Yeah, exactly, the royal we, the collective we, all y'all.
Oh, y'all, that's right.
We are. I haven't run like the official numbers, but I've done kind of a casual comparison, and by the numbers that are publicly available, that I've been able to reference, because I can't get under the hood of some of our fellow podcasters in North Carolina. We're the largest North Carolina and local politics podcast in the state.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
That's cool.
It's super cool. And again, it's because of the folks listening. It's because folks are finding this interesting or valuable or both.
Yeah.
And God, it feels good.
Yeah, it does. It definitely feels nice to not just talking to an empty microphone, knowing that people actually are taking what we say as some type of credit and value. And that's our ultimate goal, right? I mean, we talked about how can we help democracy because we both believe in democracy. We both believe in having good government.
How can we help democracy while also being the center of attention? Right. That's no, I'm just,
I mean, but really.
Also, before we get too far from this, I want to give a special shout out to our Patreon sustainers, the folks who are supporting us, not just by listening to us, which is awesome. And we love that. And we appreciate any listen we can get or any share on social media. But I want to extend a special thank you to the folks who are chipping in financially month to month, because they are making this possible in a big way. They're the folks who allow us to literally keep these lights on.
Fair.
We have some generous support from Carolina Forward, and they've been a huge help. But it's our growing listener base, and folks who, like I said, are finding what we're doing valuable and are telling us we want you to keep doing this, not just with their words, but with their dollars.
Yep, with their treasure.
And that just feels really cool. When people
Never thought this would happen.
Never thought this, dude.
Right.
I never thought this would happen. I mean, usually people pay me to stop talking.
That's right. Just shut the
Yeah, exactly. So if you find what we're doing interesting and a good resource for our state, or our country or our community or whatever, if you find what we're doing valuable, we encourage you to check out our Patreon. Just go to patreon.com, type in the Hometown Holler, and you can help make this possible. And in return, we got some goodies for you.
Yeah, well, we got more episodes where we're trying to be the center of attention by helping democracy.
Well, in those episodes, we're kind of like, I would say in the Back Porch episodes, we do a really good job of not being the centers of attention.
True, it's just a big kickback.
It's just a total kickback and a lot of fun. And so we have the Back Porch episodes. We got some merch for folks. In addition to our Hometown Holler T-shirts, folks now have access to, and you don't actually have to pay to be a paid subscriber to access these, because we want all y'all in Alamance County and across the state. We have these awesome T-shirts I'm wearing. If you're online, you can see it. It says "In Alamance as it is in heaven."
That's right.
Which is just poetry, Southern poetry.
Well, that's probably enough of us just gloating about the past 6 months, which
dude.
have been crazy. But we're almost roughly 100 days out from election, November 5th.
Yeah, 100 days, give or take. A lot can happen in 100 days.
A lot can happen in 2 weeks, as we've just seen.
That's for sure, dude. Okay, so
yeah, tell me how you feel about it. So,
Yep.
Biden's our front runner.
I want to start. Yeah, let's start there, because the last time you and I actually had a sit down conversation in person about national politics was the night of the debate, because we had just recorded an episode here, and you had somewhere to be, and you weren't going to be able to watch the debate,
Right.
And I was actually I was begrudgingly hosting a watch party for the debate. I had no choice in that.
But it was going to be really exciting.
It was going to be something.
Yes.
And you, I mean, almost like you, like prophetically, were like, I think this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because all it will take is a sniffle or a cough or and then all of the right's narrative is confirmed.
That's right. Democracy falls.
Democracy falls. And boy, man, don't you hate it when you're right?
No. But
Actually,
yes.
I should clarify, because now we're, because he has bowed out, and might I say bowed out with amazing dignity and grace.
Yes.
We are in a we're in the best position I think we have been in. I say we, folks who value democracy. But it was touch and go for a moment there.
Yeah, it was really interesting. When after primaries, Biden's the front runner for the Democrat Party, and everybody was like, we all knew old Pawpaw Joe.
Yeah.
We knew he was old, but we also knew he had Harris as his VP, right? So if anything happened, we knew Harris was going to be there. So we voted in the primary, we got Pawpaw Joe, and then our suspicions came true during the debate, and that's when shit metaphorically hit the fan.
Yeah.
Because that's when all of our truths became real, and we didn't know what we were going to do. Do we have enough time to have a new candidate? Because I think I remember going back to, it might have been February. I was listening to Ezra Klein. He does a podcast and is a New York Times columnist, and he was calling for Biden to step down, and everybody was like, "That's impossible.
Yeah,
It can't
dude,
happen.
shut up.
We don't
Yeah.
have enough time to do that."
Well, Dean Phillips, that was his whole candidacy.
Right. And now he smartly bows out right after
I mean, dude, that was political 4D chess.
which goes to show that like Biden does know what he's doing.
For sure.
So if anybody had the question that he's not cognitive enough to be president or play this political game, that's just wrong. He is. It's just he maybe not be able to do it for 4 years.
Well, I would say, so I'll be honest, I personally have no qualms about vote. If he was on the ballot, I would have voted for him enthusiastically.
Absolutely.
One, because the presidency is about more than one guy. It's an administration, and
He has one of the youngest administrations in history.
diverse, competent. How many of his children or immediate family members have been put in positions of power that they can use to enrich themselves? Zero.
Right.
Right.
Well, definitely not Hunter.
Definitely. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, that's the dude. Hunter. Oh my God, dude. Like, people talk about Hunter Biden as if Eric and Donald Jr. and that whole gaggle have not been the epicenter of amazing amounts of corruption.
Right.
But that aside, I find the idea that because he announced he wasn't going to run. And immediately Mike Johnson was like, "Oh, you should step down. You should resign," which is such a fallacy of reasoning, because he's not saying I can't do this now. I mean, it'd be like if I said, "Look, in 4 years, I don't know that I want to do this job." That doesn't
Right.
mean I can't do it today.
Yeah, he said him stepping down just said, "I am good enough to do the job now until January 5th or 6th."
And what it really is, so Alamance County listeners, folks who follow North Carolina politics, you will know Senator Amy Galey, who represents us here in Alamance County, represents our neighbors down in Randolph County, or at least a part of Randolph County.
She's the chair of the North Carolina Senate Education Committee.
That's right, and it shows in the state of our public schools and all that. She was on Twitter raging that this is, I never want to hear another Democratic state senator come on the floor and talk about democracy, in air quotes, democracy, because this is just the elites rigging and all that. And it amazes me because this is like the most democratic thing we have seen as a country this entire election cycle. Because really what happened was poll after poll of not just registered voters, but Democrats, folks that Biden, he's the leader of that party.
Right.
We're saying we want someone else. The non-democratic thing, again, lowercase d, would be for him to say, suck it.
Right.
What was it? It was like 60, 70% of registered Democrats wanted a different
like
candidate.
2/3, yeah.
So they spoke and he listened. And that is the definition of democracy.
And delegates still have to pick the nominee.
Sure, they still got, and we also, like you were saying, we voted for Kamala. We knew
That's
that
right.
we get him in office, and for some reason, whatever reason, he doesn't finish his term. We accept the possibility. We embrace the possibility of Kamala stepping in and becoming president. So this idea that this is somehow an exercise and not an exercise in democracy, it's laughable. And one, it shows that these are folks who don't recognize democracy when it's staring them in the face. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this.
Okay.
Do you think there is a little bit of envy? Because we know folks
From Amy Galey to Kamala?
Yeah, no. Amy, folks on the Republican politicians who wish to God they could if they could snap their fingers and dump Trump tomorrow, they would.
Yeah.
But they're stuck with him, and we know that behind closed doors, Mitch McConnell, like all these folks are just like, oh my God, can we please get Trump out of here? But they can't because the voter. I wonder if there's some envy that it's like, man, the other side can swap out their horse mid-election, and it's not a debacle. There's not a coup, a literal insurrection. I wonder if there's some envy there.
Well, there's got to be, right? I think this demonstrated that the Democratic Party shows that they actually listen to the party. We are a political party and not a cult. I think you've said that before.
Yeah, not a cult.
And we know during the primaries that it's the extremes that come out and vote, right?
Sure.
The extreme right and the extreme left, they're the ones that come out and vote. And we know that's what the MAGA group is the extreme of because this isn't your grandfather's Republican Party anymore. So no doubt that there's a lot of Republicans that wish they could do this with this old man Trump. I mean, he's 78 years old, right? He's old and not senile.
Yeah.
Can't do this anymore.
That dude has abused his body for like the past ever. And granted, he doesn't drink, but have you read his quotes or
Isn't it like 12 Diet Cokes a day or
well,
something?
beyond his nutritional deficiencies and neurological deficiencies, have you read his take on exercise? Why he doesn't believe in exercise? Now, he golfs, but like, okay. But he's against exercise. And you can go online and like read interviews. It's kind of funny because he subscribes to this view that your body, your life force is finite. You're like a battery.
I am smarter than all the doctors. That was a terrible Trump impression.
I was gonna say that was like a Bond villain.
Yeah, it was a cartoon
It was
type
like
thing
like a
going.
Nickelodeon. But
Man, we haven't done this.
But he, we got to work on our impressions. But he believes that when you exercise, you're draining your body's finite amount of energy, which makes you live. You know, you die faster. You don't live as long.
Sounds like the type of guy I want as president.
Right. I mean, and again, that's so. Yeah.
So anyway, very excited to see Kamala. I hope she can step up to the plate. She clearly has made the internet go haywire.
Yeah.
She has raised a bunch of money.
Still going to be close.
Still going to be close, and she's going to have to start speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she has done a lot of off-the-cuff speaking and engagements, trying to fundraise for the Biden-Harris campaign. But now she's the center of attention. She's going to have to start talking policy. She's going to have to talking foreign policy. And she's going to have to combat, the big tent Democrat that is very frustrated with what's happening in Palestine and in Israel. And so there's a lot of things I'm very curious to see her approach and her take on. But nonetheless, I think there is some energy on the left side right now that wasn't. I think there's a lot of people that are really excited about knocking on doors and trying to convince somebody about Kamala instead of Papa Joe.
So that's such an easier sell.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. This is a level of excitement that I don't recall seeing since 2008.
Well, and time again in U.S. history and politics, we know, and we've spoken about it on the holler, that the Democrat Party has been carried on the backs of black women.
Amen.
And I am confident and willing to put all my coins to have them help save democracy.
All three of your coins.
I've got 3. But anyway, so that's some national politics. State politics, right? It's coming around the corner. We've got Mark Robinson.
So yes, let's, folks, if you've, this is, I can't, the only reason what we're about to talk about is not like national, is not just major news, is because the national, headlines are so wacky. In any other news cycle, Mark Robinson is breaking through and is going to be talked about in Nevada and California and all these other states.
Which is crazy that it's not, because this race, the North Carolina governor race, is the largest gubernatorial race in the country. And we have Mark Robinson, who is the current lieutenant governor, being caught with multiple tax frauds and taking money off the backs to... What were you going to say?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, there are like 2 kind of threads to this.
Okay.
One of them is the daycare.
Yep.
And one of them is the nutrition, really middleman that he and his wife, that nonprofit they ran.
They get in trouble for the daycare, shut that thing down. Then they open up the nutritional.
Yeah.
God, what was it called? What's the name of it?
Balanced nutrition.
Balanced nutrition. Yeah. Basically, what they were doing was taking money from the government,
right? Federal funds,
and saying, okay, here's some meals that this daycare needs, this daycare needs, this daycare needs for underfunded children.
Yep.
But what they were doing was falsifying the amount of meals that were needed.
Right.
They were hiring their family members, paying them an exorbitant
submitting
amount
like
of
multiple
money.
receipts.
Right.
They were inflating costs. They were invoicing for a daycare they had not served.
And then as soon as they got noticed that they were getting audited, they shut that bitch down. They said, boop.
Yeah,
closed.
which you don't do that if there's no there there. Like it kind of reminds me of like like when Trump settled out of court for like Trump University. It's like you don't settle unless you don't want people to look further.
Dude,
because it actually gets worse.
If I am 100% innocent on this, I'm putting my house up to get the best lawyer.
Absolutely.
It's like, bro, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a horrible look. And these are not accusations. These are not allegations. These, them's the facts.
Them's the facts.
So there's the balanced nutrition thing where I think the latest figure, and this is only going to go up, was like $130,000 they've had to pay.
Or being asked to pay.
Or being told they have to pay.
Yep.
Interesting thing, back in 2020, they received a paycheck protection pandemic paycheck or whatever the triple P loans or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
the Paycheck Protection Program. They received something for like $28,000. Around that same time, Mark Robinson's wife, who was the leader, the manager, I guess, of this nonprofit, her salary went up $30,000.
There's no coincidence there, Daniel.
I was gonna say, man, that's I'm not. Maybe there are no dots to connect, but that's a hell of a coincidence.
Very much so.
And then there's the daycare, which this is the one that tickles me because, we've all seen that clip of him going, "Some folks need killing."
Right.
That guy owned a daycare.
That he did.
Right. That guy, like, people dropped their kids off. And he was responsible for their well-being. So,
well, he didn't really mean that, Daniel.
Right, he didn't mean that.
It was metaphorically speaking.
Exactly, and it's the other side that's raising the temperature and is inciting hate into our discourse. Anyway, so what? Like they were cited multiple times at this daycare.
Of child endangerment. They were cited. To
exposed
to do
electrical outlets, not refrigerating infant formula.
Right, medicine.
Not
having enough people per kid.
And then falsifying a criminal background check.
Which to get a certificate from the North Carolina state to run a daycare, you have to pass a background check, and then they give you the credentials. You get a certificate you put on the wall, and I know this because I have a couple of them that I insure. I'm an insurance guy, and they have to submit all these to me so I can submit them to the insurance carrier. Well, they falsified the credentials from the state because it seems like the state wouldn't give them the credentials, and they falsified criminal records.
That's wild.
Well, I mean,
law and order, Quinn.
That's right, law and order. And then going down ballot, right? So that's our governor. Josh Stein is the Democrat nominee.
Yeah, and I will say this. You go ahead. Actually,
he just from an outside looking in, he's on making a ton of ads. His ads are very impressionable. The newest one I think I saw him, and he has some lady on there saying, normally I vote Republican, but I'm going to have to vote for Josh Stein because he understands. He helped her son, her son OD'd with the fentanyl, and he took fentanyl.
That's cool.
Yeah,
so it's not
really
just
cool.
I normally vote Republican, but I don't like Mark Robinson, I'm voting for this guy. But it's actually like I love
see
it.
what he's doing.
Yeah, I think that those are, and I don't know that necessarily these are the most effective ads. I haven't looked at the numbers, but in terms of what impacts me, and I'm a reliable voter, so maybe I'm not, nobody needs to get me out of the polls. I'm already going. But I do love stories. I love seeing stories of folks who finally make that connection of, oh my gosh, policies matter to people. They impact.
That was something I wanted to talk to you about. That was very interesting to me. I was listening to NPR the other day, and actually it was Ezra Klein was on there, and they were interviewing him and talking about what gets people out to vote. What does the normal voter think about? And for the longest time, I'm immersed in some of the party politics, and in there, I'm a reliable voter. I see the inner workings of the Democrat Party, and a lot of times I think the message is anything but Trump, right? Tell how bad Trump is and doing the stuff.
The negative politics.
The negative politics, where Ezra was arguing, and the other commentators on NPR, was that voters actually do care about policy. And I agree. I think we do, but when you look at the extremes, it's really hard. Like the extreme right? It's just like, Joe's old, they're terrible, they want to kill your babies, they want to open the borders. They don't really care about policy, right? It's just angriness, and then angriness on the other side.
Well, I would say those are all policies, right? Like
to a degree,
a border wall is a policy. It's not a good policy. It's a ridiculous policy.
But nobody really cares, right? That's going to vote. Like Trump could do anything he wants. I mean, he said it. He can go shoot somebody in the middle of the street, and everybody's still going to vote for him, right? So that made me think nobody really cares that's voting on the right. And then likewise, I'm sure somebody from the right would be like, left's still going to vote for this old dude, and they're letting all this happen.
I disagree with that. And the reason I say that is because I know a good number of folks who would identify as reliably left of center who have expressed to me throughout this election cycle a genuine reluctance to vote at all, because they vote on policy, and the policy that they're upset with is Gaza, is Israel-Palestine. I have had many conversations with folks in my orbit who take that stand, because I personally, for one, okay, you're essentially saying that both candidates have equivalent approaches to the Middle East. That's not true,
right?
I mean, you think that in this case, not formerly Biden, but now Harris and Trump are going to have
funding genocide is funding genocide.
So,
but I don't want to talk about Gaza and stuff because I think it's nuanced, and I don't know foreign policy.
well, all I'm saying is that I don't think we should pretend that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have equivalent approaches.
I would 100% agree on that.
Right, and I think we have all the 4 years of Trump's presidency to back that up.
And
who was it who met with Netanyahu a couple weeks ago? Last week, that was Trump. That wasn't Harris, right?
So no. That was Harris, not Trump.
Okay, wait, what?
Harris met
with Netanyahu
and told him to cease fire.
Oh, you're right. She did. Yeah. Okay, we'll have to cut this part out. But I guess I'll put it this way: when Netanyahu lands, right? Biden's not there, Kamala's not there.
Sure.
Who does he go schmooze with? It's Trump, right?
Right.
So, again, we don't have to wade into it, but I just don't think we can pretend that they're equivalent approaches on both sides, on both tickets.
Yeah, I just guess when I think policy, and going back to thinking the average voter cares about policy, I've knocked on many of doors and talked to people, and when you talk to them and you try to talk policy and explain some of these policies, like it just glazes over eyes because it's not sexy. They don't care.
But that to me is not so much saying that voters don't care about policy, but we're not doing a good enough job at being storytellers.
Goes back to messaging.
It goes back to messaging, right? It goes back to messaging.
I mean, and the right has been crushing messaging.
Yeah, doing a decent job.
I mean, taxation is theft, pro-life. Everything's just so simple, straight to the point, and the left is just not that. So if you're not pro-life, what does that make you? Like pro-death?
Right.
Well,
so I think on that one in particular, there's been a lot of movement. Anti-choice.
Well,
right?
I think that's we finally. When I say we, the left has been definitely more on the offense with that. Now we finally can say the A word and finally talk about it.
Yeah.
Where before it was like, if you bring that up, because they beat us with the pro-life now, but now we have the pro-choice.
Yeah, but I think folks are coming forward and realizing that abortion is
Women's
not something
rights.
that happens on the periphery. This is something that is a lived experience for many, many, many people who find themselves in a situation, the most significant health crisis of their life,
Right.
and they never expected it. They never, this has been something they never thought they would encounter, and now those stories are coming forth, and we're seeing that this is a problem that impacts people from all walks of life.
And this is a good segue into with this abortion rights, right? We look at it on the federal level. It's a big topic, right? But they can't really do too much about it unless they codify it into the Senate and the House and make a law. But in North Carolina particularly, we have a opportunity to select Supreme Court justices who can help protect us, right? Where your vote does count, and that's a down ballot race. You're not going to see it. It's going to.
And that one worries me, dude.
Very much so,
because it's like disproportionately impactful, disproportionately important, and there's such a disparity in terms of the vote drop off, right? Folks just don't vote for judicial races like they should, like they do for other races, for whatever reason.
Well, and now partisan. So I have a theory that this is why it scares me. I think, we had Cooper win in 2020, but Donald Trump won his presidency, but we elected a Democratic governor. In this instance, right now, in this upcoming election, I think there are going to be Republican voters that don't vote for Trump. They're just going to leave President blank, and they're going to vote for Josh Stein. But then going down the ballot, when you go to Council of the State, when you got Michelle Morrow, right? When you've got the judges, they're just going to pull the red lever, not knowing. They're like, okay, we did our good deed, right? The Lord knows we don't need to put Trump.
Now we're going to play for the party.
Now we're going to play for the party. So the Democrats have to do a good job and a better job, and I think they're doing a fantastic job thus far. Maybe just because my little corner of the internet shows it, but getting people to know who Allison Riggs is, who's Braxton Winston, who's Jessica Holmes, right? All these Council of the State members, who's Rachel Hunt, and get people to know these people. If they honestly care about policy and need to know who these people are, we've got to get it out. And I just, the Q2 just ended with fundraising. I think we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah,
with
numbers are encouraging.
Need more. Josh Stein's killing it. Biden Harris has been killing it, but everybody else, right? Like we need to. I just think I saw where the Republican Party is dumping like $1 million into the Trisha Cotham campaign,
right?
And it's like, whoa, and that's just a House district. What about these statewide candidates? You know, where are they landing? Are they going to have enough money to combat a GOP machine?
Well, I mean, this race, I mean, this sounds kind of trite. This sounds like a truism, but it was always going to hinge on turnout. And,
Yeah.
and energy and enthusiasm fuels turnout. And if there's one thing we've seen in the past week, 10 days, it's energy and enthusiasm, right? And the fundraising numbers reflect that. All these Zoom calls that keep crashing.
Right.
White dudes for Kamala, white gals for Kamala, black dudes for Kamala, black gals for Kamala. I mean,
Yeah.
it's everybody showing up, crashing the Zooms. And it's something we weren't seeing 2 months ago.
No.
You know, and so,
Hopefully it goes down ballot.
yeah, I mean, I mean, we can only wait and see, but I am cautiously optimistic, and a lot can happen in 100 days.
Yeah. We also have your local school boards and county commissioners that are going to be coming up.
Yeah, I was hoping we could. You know, I think we're kind of maybe coming up on time.
We are.
but oh, man, folks who are listening from Alamance County, our Alamance folks, it's a weird race on especially on the county commissioner level, in my humble opinion.
Well, I'll say something real quick, though, about the school board.
Okay.
And I know we don't have much time.
Yep.
I think this is going to be news to you, which is pretty cool. I've been excited about saying this.
Yeah, break it.
So Alamance County has been a shit show for the school.
Yeah, for a while.
For a while, but the last year especially.
Yeah.
Superintendent left. We have an interim superintendent. They just hired a new superintendent. They announced it last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And when this episode comes out, it'll be last Monday. And that superintendent is from Harnett County.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to be the education advisor to Tim Moore.
Really?
Yes. So if you think that your school board vote doesn't matter,
That's who they
school
picked.
board, that's who they picked. So we need to make sure that we get people on your local school board, Alamance County in particularly, that reflect your values
Mm-hmm.
and reflect the community. I'm still giving this guy a chance.
Sure,
I
benefit of the doubt.
all I know is what I see on paper, that
Mm-hmm.
he was the education advisor to Tim Moore, and anything that's associated to Tim Moore to me is just a little shady.
It's a data point. That's for damn
without
sure.
a doubt. But man, it has been awesome just you and I cutting it.
Yeah, it has been fun. We've been doing a lot of interviews, and part of that is because I'm always a little bit reluctant to just sit in front of a mic and talk and run my mouth, because to me it's just like, I'm still frankly not in that mindset of I'm a podcast host. This is what I do.
Sure.
You know, I love talking to folks and talking with interesting people, which we've been doing, and that's a lot of fun. But I'm still getting that mindset of, it still blows my mind that we have people tuning in to hear me talk. Or
Well,
you talk.
and this was a little different too, because this one we may have papers if you're watching in front of us. This is our outline for our next
Yeah,
guest
we're just
who we're
riffing.
having. But normally we do a lot of research on our guest.
Mm-hmm.
We put an outline together, and this one we just like off the top of our head. So if you're an avid listener to the show and this sounds a little different than what we normally it is, it's because it is.
Because it is. I mean, this is really what we do on your back porch.
Yes, and this is what I wanted to do. So if we're jumbling words, we're over talking each other, or just really not making sense,
That's just who we are.
that's the holler, man.
That's the holler, man. That's the holler. And that's our show. Folks, thanks for listening. We will be back next week with another episode of the Hometown Holler. We hope you guys will keep on keeping on and doing whatever it is you do to live, thrive, and survive. And until next time, I think that's it, Quinn.
Sign up for Patreons.
That's right. Sign up for that Patreon, and we'll catch you guys on the Flippy Flop.
That's right.